rebuilding confidence, and harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zymet.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beverly Zymet Show, where being that best you gets easier with every guest that I have. And my guest today, calling in from, I believe it was Boxerville, Massachusetts, and her name is Roxy Rocker, and she is the beloved Roxy. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, Beverly, thanks for having me here. I'm from Boxborough, but I like Boxville better.
Oh, well, Boxborough, Boxville's Box something, right?
It's like Whoville.
Yeah. Whoville. I like that. Okay. I know there's a lot of little towns up there in Massachusetts. Actually, last year about this time, I was up in your neck of the woods, just
Lovely.
checking out all the colors and everything else. And
So pretty.
you know, this time of year is very pretty, no matter where you are when it's the fall, right?
Yeah.
We have such a beautiful country that we live in, and I can actually say I've been in every state of the union. How about you?
Wow. You know about 40 of them.
Oh, see, you're getting close.
I am.
Yeah, it's just, but I have to say, my heart is in the West.
Me too.
Yeah? Well, then what are you doing out East?
I don't know, but I'm hanging out.
Oh, you're
You know,
hanging out. Okay.
I came out here for a job at a university. It was a grant-funded position with National Service. And when that grant ended, I just kind of stayed and made my way into the holistic world.
How long you been in Holistic?
Oh, goodness. I mean, without being a practitioner, I've been in the holistic world probably for about 20 years. With being a practitioner, about 6 to 7.
Awesome.
hmm
So, what exactly in the Holistic does Roxy do then?
So, by trade, I'm a licensed massage therapist.
Okay.
COVID paused some of that, and I'm revamping a little bit of that. I wouldn't call myself a Swedish or practical, deep tissue, deep pressure. I would more consider myself a specialist, where I really work on therapeutic care, and I would say I do some kind of intuitive roadmap on the body.
Ooh, I like that intuitive roadmap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in alternative medicine now for over 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, and so I do an intuitive roadmap, I guess you could call it. I do a lot of psychic surgery, but,
I'm
just
intrigued.
scanning. Yeah, intrigued. I scan the body, right? And then, you see what's going on in there. And it's actually, when you look at the field, and you probably understand this, the energy field itself really speaks very loudly when you can see past what these two eyes are looking at, right? And
Oh,
and
yeah.
see in what the energy is all about, because we are energy. We're an electromagnetic being, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So I get what you say when you say, the roadmap, because your hands can pick up currents, and when you can decipher, a current, and what's uncomfortable in that current, that's not running, a straight line, shall we say, and there's kind of a short out, or right, it's like, oh well, we got something going on here, and then you just kind of dig in a little bit deeper, or you
hmm
rearrange things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No.
With the pause of the and let me tell you, my heart will always go to table work with that energy line.
Uh-huh.
But with the pandemic, I've had to pivot a little bit, as we've all, and this new favorite word is pivot. And I've been going back to some of my roots where I was a employment counselor. Um,
Okay.
and I did it specifically for people with disabilities. And now I'm the big heart support system and never give up specialist who really wants to help people with resilience, because I've had my own journey with disabilities and struggles and challenges and self-sabotage and all of that lovely list of things that we limit ourselves with.
And that's a good way to put it, limit ourselves with. That is so factual. And all those things that you mentioned, somewhere along the line, it's crossed our path. And if it hasn't, stay tuned. It'll probably show up sooner or later.
It'll come back. It'll show up in a whole new form.
Yes, it can do that too. It's really pretty sneaky. You talk about resilience, right? And resilience, you're staying on top of things, and you're looking, forward to different things, and you're working with that, and then all of a sudden this thing comes and bites you in the backside, and you're like, what the heck was that? Right?
Right? Like, where did that come from? Why did that train just show up like that?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
So true.
So, working with people on many different aspects of their lives, and most recently, I transitioned one of my clients from the massage table to doing some of this neuro-linguistic programming I'm learning from a program out of Australia.
Okay.
And we were doing chunking and value systems because she's trying to have a baby.
Oh, okay.
And so it's the whole concept of she likes to be in control.
Oh,
But
well,
she's doing
we don't know
IVF.
anybody else like that, do we?
No, not at all. Yeah. So, what she said was, I've been working with you for 4.5 years doing massage therapy and therapeutic work, but I really love this because you're able to break it down so much for me that it's another way for me to calm myself down and really work on my mental health.
Right. And right now, when you talk about mental health, it is so prevalent, and when I grew up, which was a long time ago, well, actually, I never have grown up because I'm still only 5 foot, right? But, the stigma of mental health and what that all meant,
Yes.
it's still there on the undercurrent. But when we look at, we shouldn't really call it mental health. It's a state of where our thought processes are, that mental thought processing and what it does with us. So it's not really, it's a state of mind.
Right.
But it's not that, oh my God, you're a nutcase. Well, we're all nutcases. We know that, right? Know a lot, but that's what makes life interesting. But on a serious note, with the mental conditions and things, there's so much more out there now, and different understandings of what causes those triggers to go in the direction that they do, and our belief systems, right, are really relevant to what goes on in our daily life and in our daily mental state of mind. So where is that belief system? And that belief system starts where? Back in your childhood, right?
Absolutely.
So
Started from birth.
yeah. And you never know what's going on inside there. And so when you can recognize that hey, I do have an opportunity here to change what my programming was. And now with all the new sciences out there and all that information coming out about the sciences, what we called psychic or metaphysics, back in the day, really is nothing more than just physics that has been proven through science now, right? Which is really kind of cool because it opens so many different doors. And when we can understand that from that scientific perspective, then we can really start to take charge and start shifting what's going on up here, and how those dendrites fire and what happens when things go in different avenues in different areas of the brain than where you want them to go, and all kinds of crazy stuff like that.
And what I love about it is because I know the body connection, the mind connection, and the scientific values of having both of them being balanced,
Right.
there's such a great opportunity for wellness and quality of life, and just the way that health and wealth, uh, that wealth that's not money, that
Yes.
beauty of having this opportunity to work on your wholeness,
Mm-hmm.
on your wholeness. And that's why I love this whole idea of never giving up, because it's such a simple concept of having hope, having a pathway of, well, if I remind myself to never give up, what else can be possible? What else can be available?
Right.
If I remind myself to never give up, because what if I did give up? What would my options be? Where would I go? Because if I chose not to have the baby, or if I chose not to take the job or the career, what would I have? And then am I going to be miserable about it later? And then all those thought patterns just start triggering and triggering and triggering,
Yes,
and
they do. Yes,
right?
they do.
But if you think, oh, wait a minute, what if I don't give up? Maybe you'll have less of that trigger, and all of a sudden you can have a couple of less options and go, oh, I could possibly figure this out. And with the help of supports, now there's so many supports out there
Oh
from,
my goodness, it's amazing the support
right?
systems that are available right now. And when we look at what's going on here in 2020, it's not very comfortable in a lot of instances. But again, it's understanding what that is. So we talk about that mental mindset. But the mental mindset, I think more now than ever, we really need to bring in the aspects of the emotions, because the emotions really trigger what's going on in that mental state.
Oh, yes.
And when we look at all the activity and the slowdowns and the shutdowns and the distancing, the fear factor that figures in with everything. And
Yes.
it's not just something that happened a short time. This is a long time, and so it's going to be interesting to see as things progress and shift, because we know it's never going to be the way it once was. That's long gone. What
We're
we
going
once knew
to
is
have, yeah, we're going to have a very big problem with mental health and emotional issues
right.
that we haven't dealt with yet. And it's going to be a bigger portion of, and people are going to be looking for answers and different ways to cope with these emotions that have happened because of the pandemic.
Right. And it's not that they weren't there before. They
It's
were
been
there
magnified.
before, but they weren't recognizable like they were because we were so busy being busy. We could just bypass them, right? And things have just shifted. So when you look at all the things that are kind of, say, out of control, when
Mm.
we look at what's going on in the homes, suicide rates have gone up. Abuse has gone
Alcoholism.
up, alcohol has gotten out of hand, drugs,
Mhm.
the anxieties, just the sometimes the home environment has gotten so destructive, right? And it's like, wow, what can we do here? People are going to be needing our services and that support. So it's great that
Yeah.
these support teams are out here. But again, I think the pendulum swings, right? It always swings from one direction to the other, right? And so with that pandemic, I mean, there wasn't no swing. It was thrown over to the other side, like in an instant.
Bulldozed.
So when you start looking at where that pendulum is riding, we don't have that harmony, we don't have that balance as of yet, because
No.
it is swinging so crazy from side to side and extreme.
Mhm.
And when you don't understand that and you're trying to make some sense out of it, so when you look at the support, we are so inundated right now by Summit this and Expo that and this and that and Zoom, 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 right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
thank goodness we had Zoom, because it gave us an opportunity to be able to have that connection.
Yes.
We'll talk a little bit about the virtual reality, aspect of connection as well.
Absolutely.
And when we look at, the fatigue that's happening with a lot of the online things right now, and why is that? It's because of the static. When you understand the science behind the static, because our brains are electrical currents. And so when you're looking at a lot of people in a lot of little squares, it's
Yeah.
almost like everybody's in their little dog cage, so to speak, right?
I know.
I know. I don't know how else to describe it, but
Right.
the brain segments that. It sections you off because you are sectioned, right? And everyone's got something different going on. Everybody's doing a different movement. And then you got, people don't shut their mic off, and then they're yelling at the kid or the dog, or they're
The dog's
eating,
barking.
or there's just, and that's what we call static, right?
Yeah.
That's static energy. The brain picks all of that up unconsciously, even when you're trying to focus on who the person is that's leading the pack, so to speak, right? But the static gets to you, and so now they have this thing called Zoom fatigue. When you're hours and hours, and then look at our children. They're going to school on Zoom, and they're shutting off the pictures, they're shutting off the voice. You don't know where they are. The teacher has no idea if they're there, if they're listening, or what's going on, because they get it. And when we talk about the virtual reality, there's that immersion where everyone now is on the same platform. Granted, it's on the computer, but everybody's looking at the same screen. They're looking at the same picture, shall we say, right? And it's a three-dimensional. And our kids today, and even adults, right, this is technology. It's not new technology, but it's
No, because-
unfamiliar, right?
And the teens and the youth have been using things like this for a while because of gaming.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's innovation and creativity. I mean, being able to stand on a platform or sit in a room with someone in a virtual world, you could still teach a class.
Right.
And it's not just teaching a class in a Zoom room. You're teaching, you're teaching virtual classes right there where you could talk about breath, or something that I'm coming up with is a doodle hour and doodle courses.
Ooh, doodle.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I think we all doodle and we don't even realize that we do it, right?
And what I want to call it is hard art. No art skills required. This is to bring
That's
you,
a good thing.
right? This is just to bring you into yourself. And then we can talk about emotions. We can talk about fatigue. We can talk about wellness. We can talk about creativity, goal setting, anxiousness, positivity, negativity. What words are coming up for you now? And you can draw pictures, you can write words, you can do anything you want.
Right.
And it's just heart led, and it can happen. Hopefully, I would love it to happen in some kind of a platform like a virtual room, because there would be more ways of interacting than just having people in the little Hollywood square boxes.
And there we go. And that is so true, because when you're immersed on the virtual platform, and it's not, you don't have to have those funny, the funny little glasses.
That's weird Oculus, whatever they're called.
Yeah, the Rifts, the Oculus, they got a lot of different names. Those aren't necessary in the platform that we use, but the high quality of graphics and the colors don't put strain on the eyes. But the mind, when you're in there in your avatar, now we don't have cartoon character avatars. We can actually make your avatar look like you, which is really kind of cool.
That's really cool.
Right, so you look like a human, you dress like a human, you walk and talk like a human. And that's where the mindset comes in, because the mind's very powerful. And when you're immersed in that platform and everyone is in that same environment, now it says, oh, there's somebody here. And the kids really get this. They understand it because they've been there and they know that. And that's the technology that they use. It's what's in their DNA. And so, yeah. And they want to use that because they can now be next to their friends really
Yeah.
have that connected next to somebody. And we're really, I think, starting to figure it out and notice that the human element was not meant to be separated. I mean, when you look at this equipment that showed up, right? I don't know why my lighting is doing funky things today, but anyway, these phones and iPads and all of that, right?
Mhm.
Um, it kind of separated people. You'd be out, in a restaurant and everybody be sitting around and everybody's doing this, right? And they're texting each other across the table. It's like, seriously? That one I never did get. But
No,
it
I'm
has,
going my mind too. My
y-
mind too.
yeah. So that was kind of the start of the separation, but it wasn't really looked upon as that until we had this lockdown, with the pandemic. And wow, now being isolated so much and having to be covered up, because when you cover the face, there's no expression anymore. There's no expression left, and that's something that we read, is that expression. Is somebody smiling? Is somebody laughing? Is somebody angry? Is somebody, but you cannot read the body language, and that's part of the instinctual thing that every single one of us has, right? And so when you look at what's happening and where the fear-based elements running, the fight flight mechanisms start to kick in.
Oh,
So now we have a whole lot of things I think we're going to find out coming out of this. There's a lot of great things that are coming out of it, right? But again, we live in that world of duality. So we have over here and we have over here. So the question
and
is,
this, yeah,
yeah,
this is why I want to introduce some of these simpler tasks with like a doodle class, and then I can kind of bring in different topics of like, what if we all just laughed together? What if
yeah,
we all just laughed and played together? And I want to bring in like a simpler concept of breath, breathing, you know,
right,
relaxing the mind in a different way. So I want to take the doodle part because think about how meditative it is to have like a marker or even a crayon like you were a child.
I
Just
have
like
I
little
have so
squiggles,
many of these notes all over my desk
right?
that every every week I have to go through. Is there something on here that I put on here because I really needed? And once in a while I'll find something, but for the most part it just goes. But writing things down or doodling, as you say, it kind
Very
of
meditative.
seats things in the brain as well, right? It solidifies a thought. Um, a memory, it just kind of brings things full circle, right?
Yeah.
And because I know if I'm on the phone, not so much on the computer because there's always a lot of other stuff going on, but just on the phone conversation, if I'm not on a walk, talking with somebody, I'll draw different things, and, you know, it's interesting when you look at
Right?
that doodle work.
And if you're always logical and allowing yourself to just have a tiny bit of creativity, you might have a new aha.
Hmm.
And then it could change and shift your thinking. And it can also, I feel like if you're able to kind of have, and I want to have it more free, but there's going to be some structure to it, which is definitely not easy for me. But I, because I'm a free spirited and I want to, oh, let's do this, let's do this. But I'm learning, as I'm becoming more into, okay, well, how do you show up as a leader? How do you start doing heartfelt leadership?
Hmm.
And so I'm like, there has to be a little bit of structure. So, there's going to be components to it that will have like, what are our goals for this great idea you have? What's your
Right.
action plan? And what are all these things that are going to be happening that will provide you a way for you to process and maybe work on some of those beliefs that you're always over here being busy doing. Plus, we need an outlet for all of the stress, all of that unbalanced swinging pendulum again.
Yeah, exactly.
We need another way to kind of work through it.
And
And
that's so, yeah, that's so relevant, right now. And to be able to recognize that, wow. One thing I've noticed in all my drawings, and I'm not quite sure
ooh,
what the whole piece of it is when I'm just doodling away, is I could never let anything end with an open end, right? So if I have a line, that line has to connect and it has to come full circle and connect into something else. So all of my doodles, right, never have an open anywhere.
mm,
Isn't that interesting? And that's
mine,
always been like that for years. Probably for the
that's
last
good.
20, 30 years, I've known that. And if I'm complete and I say I'm off the phone or whatever, because that's, like I said, where I did most of my doodling, and I would look at that, and even if I was going to throw it away, I would have to close that gap. If there was something that a line wasn't connected, I would make it connect somewhere or another. I would find a connection before I could let it go, because I could not get it out of my head and I could not leave it alone. And there was a couple of times, when I threw it away, and it's like I had to go get it out of the wastebasket, close that up, and then I could throw it away because I wouldn't get out of my head. So, Miss Doodle, what is that significant of?
For you, it's that you're aware of your interconnectivity of all of us. You're aware of interconnectivity of everything. So for you, you can't leave that alone because it's a missing component. It's part of everything that you are. That's what I'm saying. It's part of everything that we all are. And it's the interconnectivity. So for you, it's like, well, if I've left this open ended, it doesn't connect everything. Connection and connecting everything is a very important piece of all of our lives. And we sometimes forget that. You don't. So it's really important for you to know that everything has to be connected.
Oh, that is definitely a must. It has to connect, right? It really has to connect. I guess that kind of goes back when I think it was the third grade. We were given a protractor and a compass. There's, I didn't even know what they're called. You know what I'm saying? Like the half little moon things, and you put the little poke thing in, and
Yes.
right? And most people have no clue what we're talking about. But what I would draw things with that, and it was always geometric forms, right? In sacred
Yeah.
geometry, and oh my God, and I would color them in, and I had some of the most spectacular geometric shapes and stuff that I created. So when I was given those two pieces of equipment, oh my gosh, my world changed forever. But in that, everything was connected. Usually it ended with the circle around the outside. That so if I had like 5 or 6 pointed stars or rectangle shapes or octagons or whatever the case was, at when the whole thing was done, there was a circle that encapsulated everything.
Think of how much joy that brings you in celebrating that. And think about how much when you're done with a product or you're done with something that's in front of you and you kind of look at it and you go, it kind of relates to your world. Relates
Right.
to
It kind of does now that when you mentioned it that way. Yeah.
So when I doodle, I wind up always doing like little swirlies, but then I'm always drawing a heart, 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 heart.
I have a lot of
It's just-
arrows. I have a lot of arrows, right? But the arrows have to connect to something too, right?
I do swirlies and I do hearts. Swirlies and hearts. And I think I like my things connected too. What was interesting for me, and it's funny that you brought it up because I was walking in BJ's Costco, something like that, and I saw the spirograph and I was like, doodle class, spirograph. And I was like, should I buy it? I'm like, I'm like, should I make spirographs? Because I was thinking too about like sacred geometry and like
Right.
patterns. And I was like, boy, we could really get into some interesting conversations here without having any art skills required.
Right.
Because what I really love about it is it takes the pressure off. It even takes the pressure off of limiting beliefs, of, you know, the things that limit us.
Right.
If you're free and you're doodling and nobody's telling you that you have to paint in the lines and you have to run it over here and you have to do it over here and you have to do it over here. There's plenty of even, and if you're into the technology, there's plenty of even like apps that you can download
Right.
that allow you to create and doodle, and whatever you want to do. But it's a freedom of self expression. And we don't want to forget creativity and self expression.
Right.
And I'm afraid that with too much tech, we're going to lose it. And we're going to lose that human side of connecting with one, who we are, and
Right.
with each other. And that's why I feel like, well, it's not my idea. I went to a class on emotional EQ and visualizing journaling. And I went, well, I'm just going to be the heart doodle lady because I don't have art background, but I have passion.
Well, sometimes that's more relevant than anything. No matter what it is that you do, that word passion
Yes.
is critical. Regardless of what it is that you do, if you're not passionate in your work,
Mhm.
why are you doing it? And again, when you're totally passionate, it becomes an outward expression of how you're serving others, right? But if you're doing something that you're not passionate with, you're miserable. And how many of us were in a job that we were there because there was a dollar figure at the end? So we've all been down that road. And it's like, what's your greatest asset? Start capitalizing on it. And we've really had a wake-up call here in 2020 with that, because how many of us lost jobs or were cut way back? But then it was, I didn't want to work there anyway, but oh shoot, now what am I going to do? Because I don't have an income coming in. So where there's a pro, there's a con, because we're in duality, right? But out of hard times, and depressions, and there's always an upside. And you'd mentioned the
Yes.
word resilience, right? So again, if you're busy being busy, maybe it's time to stop and say, how can I be busy, productive? And get creative. Bring that dreaming
Right.
back and that creativity,
Yeah.
right? And that will give you an idea to get an understanding of what your asset is. Because everyone, I don't care who you are, you have an asset and a passion. Now is your
Correct.
opportunity to start to build on that. And there's always room for you and your passion.
So this leads right into what I'm teaching and some of the work that I'm doing and why. So I'll tell a short story and then talk a little bit about what I do. Um, I moved from Arizona, got learning disabilities, and told no a lot. You can't do this, you can't become this, so da, 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 da. So I
Right.
had to like reduce myself down to whatever options I had. So moved 2,600 miles for a job with the paycheck. Um, and I was working as a training coordinator under a nonprofit through the university, and one of the top disability organizations in the world. And I became one of their trainers. Well, my learning disabilities were very challenged in this position because it had a lot to do with linear concepts and not right brain concepts. and it was very hard to kind of put certain things together, and I couldn't be free to be me and had to be very structured in a way. So I failed miserably. And the job situation was pretty yucky. The boss was almost kind of abusive. I became so stressed that I was falling down and having situational vertigo in the streets of Boston. I was really about to give up because, and I don't give up, but I was pretty much about to give up because I felt so beaten down.
Right.
And I did what I had to do was pull myself up, and knew that it was getting out of control. So I got me a therapist so I could cope with it better. And I had all these spiritual practices that I was doing, but because I was so overwhelmed, I couldn't concentrate to do them. But
Let's stop right there for a second, Roxy, because I think that's critical what you just said, right? You know, you knew you had all these assets,
yes,
but you were so inundated and overwhelmed and beaten down that you couldn't even recognize them, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of our audiences, out here that feel that same way. And especially now in 2020, it's like, wow, we're so inundated with all this other stuff. And it's like, I know there's something inside of me, but how do I get to it now? Because it's lost, and I have all of this other stuff and all this stress that's just caving in on me. How do I find that? What do I do? So Roxy, share with the audience, how you found that not giving up. What did it take for you to get back inside and grab hold of that and say, wait a minute, it's still here. I can find it. I can get it out, right?
well, multiple stories since childhood. I was born with one leg shorter than the other too. So I have multiple disabilities. So I've been falling down since I was very young. So it's been inside of me. I think when the worst of the worst comes, and the pandemic is a yucky scenario, but it's not my worst of the worst. It's just yucky and hard to deal with. But in the worst scenario, which was the job, I had to get help and I had to get a support system. And she gave me back some techniques like positive psychology, utilizing my meditation. She said, even if you used to do half an hour, 45 minutes to long retreats where you could just really go in, if you can't do that now, sit for 5 minutes until you can sit for 15. If you know breath work, use breath work and then breathe for another 5 minutes. So there's always a skill inside of you or a
Right.
coping mechanism that you have. It's almost an innate ability for us. Remind yourself and never give up to use those, to take them on and use them. 5 minutes of knitting. You probably do it anyway. Reading a fictional novel, not a science book or, something about business, something that you're doing. Read something for pleasure, calm yourself down. Take that bubble bath. It's in you. If you're really, really struggling with it, go out and find people like me or Beverly that can support you. There's plenty of us out there.
I think the biggest issue is that starting point to say, I need help, right?
Yeah.
So instead of calling it help, because help just kind of signifies that I'm worthless, I'm not good enough, I'm broken,
Yeah.
right? So let's just say, let's change that word and let's get assistance, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what it's all about. Everyone has their level of expertise. And right now, you need to find someone that has an expertise that can assist you where that's not your expertise, right? And so when you can change that mindset and that thought pattern, it's like, yeah, you know what? I need assistance here, right? And
That's a great word.
that's a team. We become a team effort. And it takes a team to build a unit. and it takes a unit to build a community, and it takes a community to build a world. But it all starts here, so when you start to look inside, fill your cup first, because if your cup isn't full in here, it'll never get full out here. You cannot give more out of yourself than what you give in yourself.
That's right. And so I take breaks when I know that things are too much, or I know that I'm working through something. I'll back it off a little bit. I won't see as many clients that week. I'll move things around on my schedule.
Right.
And I'll make sure that I'm doing self-care.
Oh, self-care is so critical. Yeah. And I think a lot of us during this 2020 version of life, shall we say, right, have really put that self-care on the back burner. And now it's time to say, wait a minute, just because I'm in this little box, right, doesn't mean that I don't need me time. You need me time more than ever. And trust me, your kids will love it too, because they'll take that me time advantage.
They love to doodle. They might actually want to doodle next to you.
You never know.
How amazing that would be, that you could all take a family time out. And even in my massage practice, I've noticed that I had almost 85 to 100 people that saw me on and off regular, and many of them on a regular basis. But they're not coming in right now. It's not that priority for them, when this time it really should be.
I was just going to say that, it really is critical to take care of the self, because how you take care of yourself is how you take care of those that are around you. Right? Let me say that again, because this is critical here. How you take care of yourself is how you take care of what's around you. Right? And there's a reason why that word is self. Right? Whoever put the ish on it, not so good. Right? So take the ish off and just remember that it always begins with you. And it always ends with you. So you come into the world on your own, and you go out of the world on your own. What you do in between is your choice in how you connect. We talked about the connections and stuff,
Yes.
And so when you can do that and understand where you're connected, connect with the self, because you have more than one self. You have your conscious self, you have your subconscious self, and then you have your higher conscious self, right? And that's another whole subject.
That's a 3-hour conversation, Beverly.
Yes. But it is critical to really come back and find that self. So, Roxy, my goodness, I can't believe we've been talking here for 45 minutes or so, and it's
unbelievable. That time went fast.
It did, and it is relevant of everything that's going on, with life, and it is about really understanding who we are as a human, because when we understand ourselves, it's easier to understand others, right? So if you could leave the audience with, it's going to be tough, I know, but one major word of wisdom of what they can do starting today to fit into this theme of being that best them that they can be, and really start to do one thing today that can help them take that step into themselves. Just one. Got to save some others for next time, right?
Yeah. Get out a scratch pad on a daily basis, doodle a little bit, and write some words down. And just get out a scratch pad and see how freeing that will feel. Take that time out, doodle away, see what comes out on that paper, and look at it.
Right. And that's great words of wisdom there, because it's an expression. And sometimes our drawings can get rid of the anger, frustration, upset, hurt, just get it out. Just let it go. If you want to write words, and and if it is a release like that, then take that and say, oh, thank you for getting out of me. This is great. And then you can tear it up. You can don't start a fire in the house, but, put it in a little can or something and burn it,
Yeah.
right? To just allow it to disintegrate. And that's a great way to transmute the energy and everything. So,
Or if it's positive, you can make it as your new vision board.
that's right. You could put it on your vision board. You can make a picture on the wall. It's like, yes, that's my artwork.
I'm in art school again, children. See my pretty drawings? You can put yours up there too. Make something positive.
That's right. That's right. Go back to that little child, that little 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old that they just draw. Look what I made you. And it's like, wow, that is so cool.
Right.
It's like, that's abstract, but okay.
Sure.
But
no art required.
No,
Just
it's
art.
so freeing. And when you can observe that and bring that back into your life, we can learn so much from our children today. And
I have an idea. Let's see ourselves. Let's be in constant creativity.
oh, there you go, constant creativity. And that is going to also help build your resilience. It's going to help you to
Yes.
start to really focus on what's going on in your life today in 2020, and how are you going to prepare for 2021. There's no certainty going on, and this is what's got a lot of people kind of like shaken up, shall we say. But let's surrender to the circumstance. Surrender's not giving up. Surrender to the circumstance and say, what can I do to get my creativity and my resilience back up in full force?
Yeah.
What can I take charge of here?
Mhm. What's my self to control? What can I handle? Where can I work on self to make it happen?
Right. And when everyone is
Baby
doing, when they're doing what's best for them, and what is their perfection, what's their assets, right? When everyone focuses on doing that, the world will be a completely different world. And so, Roxy, we got to shut it off. Right?
We're done.
This has been an amazing conversation here today, and please comment below. Let us know what you liked most about the conversation. What would you like Roxy to talk about at another time? And Roxy, how do people get a hold of you? I know they can comment below here and get a hold of you, but they want to reach out individually. What can they do to find you?
They can find me at Roxy B. Rocker on Facebook. And my website is up and running, but it's under construction. So
we're all under construction, so
I know. www.roxybrocker.com, direct message on Facebook, or easy info@roxybrocker.com.
So Roxy B the Rocker.
Roxy B. Rocker.
That's right, Roxy B Rocker. So hey, Google Roxy B Rocker and you're gonna find
You'll
her.
find me. I guarantee it.
So, all right, my dear, thank you so much again. And it's time to say, go out there, be that best you that you can be. And why is that? Because Roxy and I are going to be the best we that we can be. We'll see you all on another show. Bye.
Bye.
What?